So because you guys are so new to the social media and like how you were just saying that you felt like overwhelmed and stuff like that, being bombarded with questions and stuff, like, I mean, I've been doing this since 2017. I think I was 14 or 15 when I first started doing this, which is like really, really young. And sometimes like I can definitely see that like where it's like affected me and like traumatized me along the years, because like that's such a young age to be just put in front of cameras. And I like the one like situation that just sticks out to me like 24/7 is us at Earth Cafe that one time. Oh yeah. It's like literally I was probably in the most depressed state of my life. And like nobody would ever know. No one would ever know unless I would joke about it. And then it became like a don't joke about that stuff. And I'm like, it's my coping mechanism, guys. Chill, guys. And like, I remember I was literally sitting there on the verge of absolutely breaking down. And it was just Jared and I was on the verge of tears. And literally I was like, I'm so overwhelmed with everything. Everything I say is on camera. Everything I do is posted on a site. Everything I everywhere I walk, I feel like I'm being watched. Like I was literally sitting there and it was just us two on a weird Wednesday afternoon, like random time. I promise you, not even 2 seconds later, comes up with a camera. And I'm
my God.
Jared literally looks at me and he goes, because he was trying to convince me. He was like, no, I don't. I think that like you can still come out to lunch and like.
It's like, nope, lie.
Literally, cameras. No, literally though, because you were being like, Indy, like I think it's only bad when you go out to these places and like, you know, if you don't want to be seen, just don't go to those places as much. And I was like, you know what,
Jared,
talking
about like certain
Saddle
like,
Ranch and Goa, and it's like, you know, when you go to those places, you expect it, right?
Exactly.
You're like, it's still overwhelming as hell. Like especially when I was going through a lot of BS online and stuff like that, and any of my friends would be like, come at Saddle, and I'd be like, I want to hang out, but also like I'm gonna go there and just be bombarded with questions I don't want to answer, and so it's like a double-edged sword, right?
Exactly.
But he was like, just don't go to those places and it'll be fine. I'll be like, you know what? You're right.
Go to this low-key cafe.
Just go to this low-key cafe. Boom. And he goes.
And then like, we see the car pull up and like he gets out and she's just like, are you fucking kidding me?
And then immediately goes, so what are you doing? And I'm like, all right, Jared, let's go. I literally took my food to go. I was like, let's go.
It's crazy. Like, I don't know if you've watched the show, but like the second.
I've watched some of the episodes.
Yeah. So like the third or fourth episode, you see like me like have a complete breakdown because obviously like this whole thing's very overwhelming. So
and new to you guys, especially. Like I've been dealing with this for a couple of years now, not to the extent that I have been as of recently. Like since paparazzi started to get involved, and like the whole TikTok scene has just become an absolute global huge thing, right? Yeah. But anyway, sorry, continue.
No, you're good. So I was just having a bad day, you know, like whatever, having like just anxiety, like I was just like stressed about some stuff, and then the fact that I was like had my mic on, and the producers came up to me and said, "Oh, like Oz, just letting you know we're gonna do an episode like today. I mean, not episode, whatever we're focusing on today. It's gonna be around you and Aisha a lot. Just hope you know that." And then after he walked out, I literally started bawling. I was like, "Today's like the one day I don't want to film, but now I have to be on camera all day long." So then it ended up like with me like talking about like things that I went through in my past on the show and things that like I never talked about before, and like and I opened up about it, and it was just like. It's crazy because this show of like you know, this reality show, when you're on camera 10 hours a day for like 3 days a week, you're like, you know, your personality and things that you don't like normally talk about like off camera like comes out. So it's like it's so crazy, but I've been able to like adjust more and like I've become
and obviously
way more
our fans now are like so
like concerned with like our life and like they know way more
and they can
relate.
They can relate too. Like a lot of the things that Azra was talking about on the show is like about like body image issues and mental health and all that stuff, and it's like. From what we post online and stuff, we seem like really the two happiest girls in the world, but it's like at the end of the day, we have those issues too, you know? So I'm actually so glad that like they caught that moment in a way of like you breaking down because it shows how real it is. Like, and people think that it's scripted too, which it is not at all scripted. Like it's also
real.
I
know that for a fact because I went there. Me and Riley, we had like a little.
You guys were there.
Like we hung out a bunch. I kind of preferred to like come once the cameras would go home because I'd be like, I feel like my whole life is just caught on camera. If I can avoid it, I'm going to at this point. Like that's how I feel. And it was like I'd text Haley, I'd be like, yo, the camera crew's still there, and he'd be like, yeah, they'll be here for another hour. You can come over though, and I'd be like, I'll be there in about 2 hours then. Like I'd literally be like that. But the one time I came and like they were there and stuff like that, none of it's scripted at all. I mean, maybe they'll like add in like a let's do this today or let's do that today. But it's never like the actual conversations are never like say this, do this, do that kind of thing.
Because at the end of the day, it's like they're trying to get a story. So if they need to put me and you in a scene to finish a conversation that hasn't been had, they'll do that obviously. But it's like whatever is said is super real. You know what I mean? So
I think the thing is with influencers is like, honestly, guys, if we wanted to keep it offline, we 100% could. We 100%. You could not know a damn bad thing about our life, right? And so when people are always like, I wanted to keep this offline, but like I did, it's like you can keep it offline if you need to. You 100%, you just don't comment. You just don't like. And honestly, this might suck, but you just don't hit that unfollow because you know TikTok Room's going to look at it. Just mute their posts, mute their stories. You won't see this shit. Just don't do it.
I allocate it to, it feels like high school on steroids and everyone's watching.
100%.
It's basically, I'm telling you right now, like this industry is what I've noticed. Like, it's high school. Like even Saddle Ranch. Saddle Ranch is a cafeteria.
Oh my
100%.
God.
Saddle Ranch is just a cool
Saddle Ranch
Saddle Ranch is a school cafeteria.
Yeah.
And depending on where you sit, a Saddle Ranch is the freaking cool table, or
Thank
it's
you.
like 100%
Oh
is.
my
Oh, I
gosh,
hate
yes.
Saddle
Like-
Ranch. It's just a
Like
fishbowl.
It is a fishbowl.
I like going to Saddle Ranch, but like I'm not gonna go there all the time now because I realize what it is. Like you know, at first I was like, ooh, Saddle Ranch because everyone goes there. Now it's like,
Yeah, the first couple times I went there, I was like, oh, this is sick. And like the first time I got paparazzi'd, I was like,
was
this is
fun.
sick. And then I was like, then it really unlocked a deep, dark, triggering social anxiety I have.
No,
and like,
it is. It's
100%.
yeah.
Like
Do
when
you
I
know
went to
what's-
BOA and when I went, like,
crazy.
that's all.
like before I
that's
walk out of the
literally-
car and I see the cameras, I'm like,
I get this pit in my
I
stomach.
got a pin in my
I'm like,
stomach.
I don't know
Okay,
what they're
they're
gonna
ask me about
say.
this. What am I gonna say? I hope I don't say something wrong. Walk out of the car, cameras come running, and then it's like, okay,
Well, that's the thing about LA in general is like that's why I feel like people can't be real because your value is almost has a numeric number next to
it
it.
does.
That's
so
100%.
sucks. It does.
It's
so
like
sad.
people can come up to you and be like, in their mind they could be like, I'm better than you because my number's higher.
Yes.
100%.
That's so sad.
It is really sad.
And there's people
So
I've
sad.
met that have been doing this for a long time that don't think like that at all. Taylor, for example.
Oh, yeah,
Everyone
yeah,
we lived with,
definitely.
for
And then
example.
there are
But
people
there's
that like
do think like that. And it sucks.
But weirdly, the people that think like that have like 20K on Instagram or
We've
20.
talked about
I'm
this,
not saying that
yes,
like
though.
is not great, and I'm not saying that that's not an achievement in its own right. That's not
Yeah.
me saying that I'm better than you because I
No,
have
definitely
followers.
not.
It's just like it's crazy to know that like, you know, in I guess in career wise, like compared to where we are to them, it's just like, you know, we're definitely at a higher level of like following or Insta or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Bullshit like that. Not like we care. But then it's like before they know your number and they think that they're cooler than you and bigger than you or richer than you and more important than you, the way that you get treated is absolutely insane.
I thought you were
Yep.
just spitting lyrics from Never Say Never, like the Jaden Smith. Before they're bigger than you, richer than you.
But like literally, it's like the I've had this happen to me a million
That
times,
happened when we
right?
first came out here.
oh
Yeah, it's like I was literally having a conversation with this girl, and like one of my friends introduced me, and like she didn't know that I did social media, right? And like you aren't knowing I do social media because I feel like I have a very specific audience.
Right.
Unless you know me kind of thing. And so she was just like really just acting standoffish to me and bitchy and just like all these things, right? And she was just like, oh, so what do you do? I was like, oh, I act, I sing, I do social media. She was like, you do social media? And I was like, yep, I do social media. And she was just like, what's your Instagram? And then I literally watched the freaking flick
Her eyes.
switch in her
Yep,
mind.
right?
I
And then
watched it
she's-
happen.
yep.
She went, oh, what's your Instagram? I went, Indiana. She goes, Indiana what? I was like, just Indiana. She goes, how'd you get that? I was like, oh, I know people in Instagram. And she was just like, okay. Like, and then she
Yeah.
looked and she went, and I was like, there it is.
And
There's
that's
the
it.
flick.
That's
And
when
then
they're all
suddenly
there.
it's like, oh my God, we should hang out. We should do this. We should do that. I'm like,
Bro,
actually, no, we shouldn't.
Do you
You
want to know something
suck.
funny? Literally, the first week we came out to LA, it was like we weren't really doing TikTok at all. We came like in July because we had like a friend out here. So we came out here. I had like 10K on Instagram. She had like 10K. We weren't really doing TikTok seriously at that point. And we had friends that actually lived at friends that like knew people from the clubhouse. So we got to go visit and we thought it was so cool. Like obviously we only had like 300K on TikTok. We were not really like TikTokers or anything. So we went to the house and there's one girl I met. I've been watching her for so long. So I went up to her and I was like, oh my gosh, like, you know, love your content. I wasn't like fangirly or anything. Gave her a hug. And she was
Gives
like,
a side hug like
gives
this.
a side hug. Was very kind
Wait,
of
off
rude.
camera. We'll blank this out. Can you tell me what it was?
I'll tell you. I'll tell you after.
Okay, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
But very, very standoffish. Kind of rude. Like made me really upset because I was like, dang, like that's not
That
what I expected.
sucks.
And guess what? She didn't remember me. Came back 4 months later when we moved
At
into
the
the Triller
Triller
compound.
compound.
All over me, giving me a hug. We should hang out. We should do this. I'm like, oh, see how you changed now? Because I didn't have followers and you knew who I was with the first day. You were all rude to me. But now you know that I have a following and you know I'm living in this
It's
house.
the worst.
You want to be nice to me. And I was
But
like,
also,
really get
like,
out of my face.
It also makes weirdly, it's like you think that would reflect on them, and it's like it does. It obviously reflects on them, but it almost makes. I mean, for me at least, when I was in a really dark place, it almost made me feel like devalued. Like
Yes.
it devalued me in
100%.
my mind. It was like. is that all I'm worth to people? Is that really all you care about? Like, you don't care if I'm a decent person. You don't care if you actually like who I am as a person, or you think I'm cool, or you like what I do, or you like my content, or anything. Right. It's like, I love when people are like, I genuinely really like your content. Like, I literally got a call the other day, Cassius Dean, he's a photographer.
Yes, I know Cassius.
Yeah, so Cassius called me, and he was like with his roommate. She was like, I just wanted to say that, like, I really like your content, and like, I think it's really cool, and you have a really cool mix on your page and stuff like that. And as much as it was about social media, I was like, that's super nice to just call me and say that, because it means a lot 100%. To me. It does.
I will say one thing that I notice is like, when it comes to complimenting, like, yeah, compliment my looks, compliment my appearance, my content, sure, like, that's all sweet. But when someone compliments like my heart and my my values and my intentions and my personality, like, that stuff sticks to me. Like, if someone comes up to me and is like,
that's
you're so genuine, or like, just when they say something like that, like, I'll remember that more than anything.
Because
I'm also pretty.
Yeah, I'm also the type of person where, like, even coming out here, I've noticed how important it is to, like, you know, like, it's sad because a lot of people here don't have that relationship or meet people where it's like genuine. So my biggest thing is, like, when I first meet someone, it's just how I am. I don't ask like what you do, what's your Instagram. You know, I want to actually
talk to you. Or can I film with you?
Or can I film with you? Like, that's never my, like, first thing, like, when I first meet someone. It's always, like, have a conversation, get to know that person. And then, like, if you want to be friends, continue that. If you're like, oh, like, this person's actually not that cool, I don't really like them, then, like, stay away from them. But why is it always when you first meet someone, oh, like, let's film together, let's do this? Like,
no, that's why I liked you guys so much, because when we first, like, hung out or whatever it was, you guys said you like board games, and I was like,
oh yeah, we played
that. We should play some board games.
Yeah, we played the wolf game.
That was iconic.
That was so much fun. We have to.
We have it at the house.
It was such a weird group. It was like us and like you and Alec Benjamin was there.
I said Alec Baldwin. No, Alec Benjamin was there.
He could have been there.
Yeah, dude. It was Alec Benjamin, and I was like, weird group. Does he know I listened to his songs?
No, we still.
I'm like, let me down slow.
But we're all like trying to play cool. We're like, oh, so you do music? Sick.